Hello and welcome to Talk of Games match preview of West Ham United against Genk. The match day 3 of the Europa League group stages. The Hammers go for a 100% success rate. Gonzo, Genk, what's your thoughts on the place?
What I don't know about Ghent ain't worth knowing, mate.
Do you know anything? Have you done any research for the preview?
Yes, I have. Right, so when we do our bet, and then we think up the bet and Antonio to score first and Souček to get a card and whatever the case may be, and we have to think up something a little bit silly as a catchphrase. Genk have got somebody called Sad Dick as a central defender, so we're sorted. But I'll tell you something else as well. They've got that guy that we keep getting linked with, the massive geezer, Paul Anuchu. I think that might be his name. He's not like wafer thin. He's massive. He's huge. He looks like he's eaten Peter Crouch. They've lost their last 3 games on the trot. They're doing not as well in their native league as they'd like to be doing. 3 points on the board in our Europa League. Not a team in good form, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, actually. It's funny, it's happened with all 3 Europa League teams so far. Because you've heard of Rapid Vienna, Dynamo Zagreb and Genk, you just assume they'll dominate their domestic league. And then when you're getting ready to do the preview, you think, I'll go look it up. Not so much for Dynamo Zagreb, because there wasn't too much to go by. But certainly with Vienna, they were like, oh, second bottom of the league. That's a bit strange. Genk, granted, they're 6, and you'd imagine they'll still be there or thereabouts the title will come the end of the season. But it's a bit of a slow start for them. Lost 5 of the last 6 in all competitions. That obviously includes the Europa League game. As Gonzo said, 3 points so far in the Europa League. They beat Rapid Vienna 1-0 in the opener while we played Zagreb. And then last week, while we beat Rapid Vienna, they got beat 3-0 by Dynamo Zagreb. So it's hard to see where they are in correlation because they've had 1 win and 1 defeat against 2 teams that we've beaten both of. But I guess that bodes well for West Ham going into this one. But as you said, Paul Anuchu, whatever his name is, the 6'7" geezer. Are you intrigued to have a look at him? Because obviously you do your Gonzo thing. You go on YouTube and you have a little browse at him where we're linked to him. We have been linked to him a lot. And it's one of few names that's been consistent as well throughout January, throughout the summer, because names come and go. But he's actually been one that's sort of been a bit of a mainstay. And I think when you look into his profile, it ticks a few of the David Moyes boxes, I think, actually.
Yeah, I mean, when I did look at him, I was surprised. I don't know why, because I think I always expect these really tall guys, not generally in life, but in football, to be really skinny. So I was surprised. But wow, this guy's a unit. He would, would bully everybody. That being said, I've seen many big strikers in their time. Emil Heskey, for one, who you sort of look at and think they should be bullying everyone, and he spends all his time falling over. So it might not necessarily be the case. I think the age goes against him on this, and I think because 27, I don't think it's just 27 either. I think it's closer to 28 if what I saw, what I read was true. That doesn't fit the profile. Doesn't fit really what we want to be doing. And I also don't believe that we've brought in a director of football to bring in somebody that we've been linked with for the past 2 years anyway. I look at the way we play and I look at mobility, and I know you sent me some about Traore, didn't you? And that player is somebody that would fit our style a lot more than Anuchu.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by him, if you like, because he is scoring consistently, despite Genk having a bit of a slow start. He scored 9 goals in 10 games for them this season so far, so he's continued the form that he's shown in the last 2-3 seasons in Belgium. And I know you say his age goes against him, but I reckon I wouldn't be surprised when Moyes said after the summer that there was strikers we were looking at, but they were unavailable. That was Moyes' phrase, unavailable. I think what he means is we could afford them. It's just not good value for money. I think this is where he probably fits into it. Is he a good enough player for West Ham? Possibly. But is he worth 20, 25 million? Probably not. And I think that's what Moyes means unavailable. I think Moyes deems it as bad value. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the players Moyes was referring to in the summer, because while he is 27, he's almost had a rise through football, almost similar to Michail Antonio a little bit, where he started off quite low. He's had to go out on loan and stuff, went got his move to Genk. They had to pay a decent fee for him, 6-7 million, which is big money to them. But now it looks like a bargain kind of thing. Broke onto the scene, if you like, in the Europa League 4 or 5 seasons ago when he scored against Man United for a Norwegian club, Midgetland. Them.
Oh yeah, Midgety Land. Yep.
Yeah, he scored against Man United in the knockout stages, and I think they won against Man United. And he came off the bench to score the goal, so that's when he sort of made his name, if you like, in European football. So I'm intrigued to have a look at him. I don't really think there's too much. I'm a bit like yourself. I don't think there's too much there in regards to real interest. I think there maybe was, but now we've got the head of recruitment. I think it's changed now. I think the game plan, any targets and that, I think it's almost been ripped up a little bit. And it's like, we'll start again now with a new strategy. And I don't think he will meet the new strategy. But a snapshot look at Genk, nothing for you to fear there.
No, not at all. We're it's, you always get mindful of saying stuff and get biting you on the arse, but we can't deny the evidence before our eyes. I mean, we're not going to get away with doing every preview and making out West Ham are underdogs for everything anymore. We're a good team. We're a top half team, at least. At worst, I would say. At worst, we're a top half Premier League team. At best, we're a European Premier League team. So, with that in mind, and with the strength of the Premier League, and with some of the players that we've got available, and there's no way that any of these teams, be it Zagreb or be it Genk or anybody else, would be able to have a player of the calibre of Declan Rice in their team. I mean, he would have gone long before now. Declan Rice is one of the best midfielders around. That's it. I don't care what anybody else says about it. When he's on form, Antonio's one of the best strikers around. We've got a lot of really good players. Look at the pedigree of Zuma, for instance, and there's lots of others. It's an awful lot. When you look at West Ham, I think we should have enough just to, I'd say, blow these away. I don't necessarily think we will blow these away because we seem to be able to regulate the pace at which we play in European football. So do I think we'd blow them away? No. Do I think we'd get 2-0 up and then hit the cruise control button? Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree. The one difference between Genk and Zagreb and Vienna for myself is they do have a goal scorer. They do have someone that's scoring goals regularly in European football and in domestic league, and that's not really something you can attribute to Vienna and Zagreb. They didn't, on paper, carry too much threat, and I think Genk do in the form of that goal scorer. But in terms of a team, the form's not good. They've lost 5 of the last 6. Simple as that. They got smashed 3-0 at the weekend. Dynamo Zagreb beat them 3-0 as well. They've obviously got something to play for. They need a result. Genk, head to head now, we're waiting to play back-to-back games against them. They need to be picking up 3 points in the 2 games in order to try and stay in the hunt for European football. The one good positive for West Ham is a victory on Thursday would mean West Ham will play some form of European football beyond the group stages. We could, of course, finish third, drop down into Europa Conference League, but we cannot be eliminated should we lose on Thursday. But before we speak about West Ham, we want to speak about One Football. Gonzo, it's still the best football app. Just as soon as we started promoting it in the summer, it remains the best football app.
It is the best football app, and particularly bearing in mind somebody tried to do a preview the other day ahead of our most recent game against Everton when I tried to use an app and an app stopped working on me, as you might have noticed. By the way, I tried to use that app for another half an hour later and it still wasn't working. I won't name them. Yes, the One Football app works all the time and that will do for me. And I tell you what, if you were to go on there today, you would actually see a story about Paul Anuchu or whatever his name is and link it in with West Ham. And also it would tell you his goal scoring record. It would tell you all about him. It's an informative app. It's a good app. And more importantly, it's relevant to West Ham because when you sign up, click that you support West Ham, you'll get all the West Ham news and all the affiliated news connected with West Ham.
As Gonzo says, completely free. And if you want a snapshot view of Genk, get it downloaded. Favourite West Ham, go in there, have a look at our upcoming fixtures. You'll see that we're playing Genk on Thursday. Click on that. You can click on Genk. You can have a snapshot look at their squad as well as all the statistics attributed to the players and the team itself, their league table. Everything you need to know about Genk ahead of Thursday is in the One Football app. Link in description, pin comments. Get it downloaded today. Right, Gonzo. We've got Tottenham on Sunday. Now, we're not going to discuss that game per se, but does that impact the team you want to see on Thursday evening?
Yes, it does, but also the 6 points accrued already impacts the team I want to see on Thursday evening. So I know I've just mentioned Mikel Antonio, but we can leave Mikel Antonio out. That's I think this is the right thing to do, and it's a really good way to manage him in this, and particularly bearing in mind he didn't go and play for Jamaica as well. And dare I say it, the red card might have done him a little favour. I've got a feeling if we manage this right, this European campaign, we may well get to January with actually having managed Mikel Antonio really well and not used him as anywhere near as much as we thought we were going to. So yes, but Tottenham is all important. We can't afford to lose against Tottenham because we want to compete with them. We want to be up in and around 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever the case may be. But we can afford to lose against this team. I'd rather we didn't, but actually we can afford to lose or draw and we can still qualify comfortably because we're that dominant in the group. So you have to prioritise the Tottenham game.
Yeah, I agree to some extent. And before people jump on our backs, we're not talking about the Tottenham game because it's Tottenham. We're talking about the Tottenham game because that's the next Premier League fixture. If we were playing Wolves or Crystal Palace, we'd be having the same conversation, which is, do we need to prioritise Sunday? I think it's a big help that we are at home on Thursday and we are at home on Sunday as well. I think that's a massive, massive benefit, actually. But I, too, would take into consideration that we have Spurs because we still don't know. The Brentford game, we were, after the Rapid Vienna one, we weren't great. We were not good enough. And can you attribute that to the fact we had European football? Probably not. But you can't say for definite that it wasn't. And I think you almost need to remove any doubt on Thursday. And I would make quite a lot of changes, actually, on Thursday evening because we should be able to win. Even making 6-7 changes to the first 11, we should still be able to win because we've made changes in the last 2 Europa League games to some extent and won comfortably. And I would expect the same on Thursday evening. So, Areola and go for yourself, or are you going to be keeping Fabianski in with Areola for Sunday?
Well, it's a goalkeeper. They haven't got to do a lot. So, I mean, Areola can play in this game and he can play on Sunday. So, yes, Areola for this one.
I agree. Now, your back four, how would you like it to look, Mr. Gonzo?
I would... Okay, so we understand Fredericks is fit. Now, if Fredericks is fit, Fredericks ain't fit for both games because that would just be a little bit silly, really. But so I would actually play Fredericks in this particular game here. I'd play him in this one. Bring him back for this would be fine. I'd play the normal centre-back, the European centre-back partnership, as it seems to be, which is obviously Dawson and Diop. I'm sort of tempted. The left-back is interesting because the temptation to play Cresswell. I might, particularly bearing in mind there's a number of subs, I might actually be tempted to play Johnson one half, get into a lead, and then give him, give him half off because he might be used against Tottenham, and then put Masuaku in there and completely rest Cresswell.
Yeah, I get that. I think if Fredericks is fit enough to start, I would, or if Sufal was fit enough to start, perhaps him as well. And this is where it's hard because you are going to have one eye on Sunday and think, well, who would I start against Tottenham? And I think that answer is what implicates who you'd like to see at right back against Genk, actually. And Ben Johnson, funny enough, is someone I'd almost like to see rested if possible. Obviously, if Fredericks and Sufal aren't fit enough to start, then you have to start Ben Johnson. But I would even be against a curveball. There's not that many of the under-23 players we can call upon because of the regulations around the squad. So we can't use the new players that we just signed in the summer, like Ekwa and like Neves. But who we can use is players that are under the age of 21 that have been at West Ham for 2 years or more. And Harrison Ashby fits that criteria. I know it's a massive curveball. You might think it's a bit early for this, but he's been performing for the under-23s this season still. So he's in good nick in the under-23s, certainly on the bench. But Jamal Baptiste, we've seen him used as fullbacks in pre-season by David Moyes. He's on the bench again at Goodison Park on Sunday. So he's obviously next in the pecking order. And Europa League, whenever we've been speaking about qualifying for the Europa League, one of the benefits is, well, some of the youngsters might get game time.
Yes.
I'd like to see us stick to that mantra to some extent because we do have 6 points on the board. And I know people will say, well, let's just get this top spot secured and we can rotate later on. And I agree with that principle. But it doesn't mean you can't have 1 or 2 in the squad already because you've got the 6 points in. And I think if the Fredericks and Sufal are both injured and probably not going to make Sunday, I think I'd keep Ben Johnson out because I don't think we can have a third right back injured. So I think I'd protect Johnson and look at using whether it is Baptiste or whether he goes with a natural right back in Harrison Ashby. I think I'd look at the under-23s. And it allows Moyes, because of the injuries to Soufal and Fredericks, it allows Moyes an opportunity to say to the youngsters, look, there's a pathway into the first team here. I am giving the right back an opportunity. He probably won't play the next game. We might not see him again this season. But tonight, there's an opportunity. It's yours. I agree with the rest of your defence, though. Dawson Diop, like you said, it's a Europa League centre-back partnership. Yeah. And I would keep Creswell in there. I think he doesn't look like he's got fatigue or that, but I'm aware at some point we're going to have to rest him. However, he's the player that match day 5 and 6 of the group stage, I just wouldn't include him at all. I'd give him those 2 games off because he is the wrong side of 30, but he's just consistent. And I think you need some senior first 11 players in that team. And now in the middle of the park, it remains to be seen what's happening with Alex Kyle and Mark Noble. Both are missing on Sunday from the bench, but on the assumption they were both fit, Gonzo, let's just hypothetically, Noble and Kral are available, as is Lanzini, Rice, Souček. How would you like to see us line up in the middle of the pitch?
Well, I thought Kral was COVID, so I think that's...
It might be.
There's no way. You can't. It's against the rules. So, but I think Noble might be fit. And if he is, I'd actually go with Declan Rice and Mark Noble in those centre 2 partnerships. And then, again, like I said, with the left-back situation, get half a game out of Declan Rice, then off you come. Moyes has been at pains to suggest that this is good for Declan's development, and it's obviously important in that sense that Declan feels he's playing European football as well and's been part of it. So half a game, give him whatever the next day off training or something like that's probably the thing to do. Yeah, so I'll go Declan Rice and Mark Noble.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I didn't know Kral was COVID, but if he isn't, then I'd put Kral in there with Rice. But should he not have the old nasty flu, and then I'd put Noble in there alongside Rice like you've done. And I'd actually probably look to bring Souček on for Rice at half time so that in regards to the strength of the team, if you like, it's unaffected because while I think to some extent I think Souček's had a poor season, is it fatigue? Is it not fatigue? There was no concerns about that on Sunday. And while he had a nasty injury, he ended up going off early. So in terms of stamina and fitness, that was on
good point.
In theory, he had a bit of a rest. I guess it depends on how serious that injury is. So if he gets an elbow to his face, is it going to cause him serious pain, so on and so forth? And if it does, then I wouldn't risk him. But yeah, I would go with your midfield pairing. Now, Mikel Antonio, we're going to jump to the striker. I always like to jump to the striker, then work back here. He's got to be rested, doesn't he?
Yep, for all the reasons I said earlier, just not worth it. He shouldn't be needed. I might put him on the bench, actually. I might put him on the bench just in case. And when I say just in case it is tight, and we're 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go, I think, all right, go on then, because a point of, well, actually, I say 15 minutes ago, West Ham are more than capable of scoring 2 goals in the final 15 minutes of a game. Not much is sure, but, put him on the bench. But again, I feel that he must use the 5 substitutions here, Dave. So I would start with Bowen up front because he's in such good form. And I just don't want to see Yarmolenko up there, really. But again, with a view to getting Bowen off. And then you can put Yarmolenko on or do whatever you want. But I'd start with Bowen up front and rest Antonio.
I would rest Antonio, reasons you say. You've got to look after him. You've got to protect him. And I feel starting him would be an unnecessary risk. Would it have rewards? Probably. Listen, he starts Thursday and we win and he scores a goal. We'll do the review. We'll praise the fact that he did it. But then come Friday, Saturday, I'll get a bit nervous. So there's going to be a repercussion on Sunday or further down the line, which is Antonio pulls up with his hamstrings. And bear in mind that today's rumours are that West Ham are going to be sending a doctor with Antonio to Jamaican international duty to look after him, then obviously his hamstrings are a massive concern, understandably. So if they are that much of a concern, well, let's see it Thursday night. Let's have precautions in place so that you'd have him on the bench. You have to. You've got loads of options on there. You've got 5 subs you're able to use. Even if you had to put him on with half an hour to go and take him off for 10 minutes to go because he's gone and scored and we're now winning. He needs protected, so I wouldn't play him. But I would play Andrei Yarmolenko, because he's a good player. He's a good player. I think the European football suits him. I think out of our starting 11, the 2 players, or our squad, if you like, the 2 players that benefit the most from playing European football compared to Premier League football, I think is Andrei Yarmolenko and Mark Noble. Because the pace is slower, you get more time on the ball. I think Mark Noble will benefit from it in the middle of the park. I think Yarmolenko will benefit from it up front because the guy is still a really good goal scorer, and I think it's just silly not to use him. And Moyes clearly likes him to some extent. He's always Moyes' first substitution if we need a goal. It still is, Bowen off, Yarmolenko on. Let's get him on the pitch. Hopefully he can get a goal or two, get his confidence up, because at some point between now and January, we probably are going to need him to lead the line. Do I want him leading the line against Tottenham? No, I don't. I don't think he suits Premier League football. Europa League, when we've got much more possession. And at times against Vienna, you did think for the first 10, 15 minutes that we're going to break this team down a little bit here. They're sitting right back. Yarmolenko can score from 20, 25 yards. So him up front. And your attacking trio, please.
Lanzini, certainly. Vlasic, certainly, which leaves me one other, which I think I'll go with Fornals as well. But again, let him share it with Ben Rama or something. Or hopefully one of these guys is on the bench. Someone tricky and sneaky or whatever. I don't know. Just someone on the bench to come in. And a youngster. I mean, I'd love that to get 2-0 up and actually a couple of these guys, we can bring them off. And there are a couple of youngsters to go in there. I mean, I know we've loaned a lot of them out. And I don't blame them. Coventry's loaned out, fine. Holland's loaned out. But yeah, I mean, if we got 2-0 up, I'd certainly be looking to take Fornals off and put Nathan Holland on if we had him or something like that. And because obviously we can't play the guys, Occo Flex and whatnot. So, but still, I'd still look to do something like that. But yeah, that'd be my front three, my midfield three, attacking three.
Yeah, I've gone with Lanzini, Vlasic. I was 50-50 with Ben Rama and Fornals as well because I want to see Jared Bowen protected to some extent because, again, he's in good form at the minute. I think Fornals and Ben Rama could do with a good performance behind them just to get their confidence back up because I think they've both had a couple of quiet games now, Everton and Brentford, and an international break in the middle of that to rectify it. They both went away with their country. They've come back and continued on from the Brentford game. So I'd like to see one of them start anyway. I'm 50-50 as to who. Nikola Vlasic, though, I'd like to see a big game from him, Gonzo.
There's a real opportunity for him to stamp his authority on the game. It's a home game, as you mentioned, as well. There's a lot of goodwill for him to do well. He's clearly a very, very good player, and we've bought him for a reason. But at some point, he needs to. I mean, he doesn't even need to dominate a game, but let's see a glimmer. Let's see something, a goal or an assist, or even just 2 or 3 mazy runs, a shot ricocheting off the bar, something. Let's have something where we can all think, oh, okay, this is good. This is what we got here. Because I don't feel he's, for me anyway, I don't think he's shown me what we've got here. I am still looking at old YouTube footage from his previous clubs to find out what Vlasic is all about because I've not seen him show me any of those things that I just described in a West Ham shirt yet. Yeah,
I completely agree. And before people should give him time, we are giving him time. We're not saying he's crap for that. That's why we want to see him start. And I always say when we're signing someone, it's particularly from away from England, I always say give them a season to get settled and judge them in their second season. I think it's slightly different for European football. I think you can judge them in European football because this is played differently to the Premier League. If they're struggling with the pace or the power or the strength of the Premier League, okay, I accept that. It's not that it's new to him because he had a small stint with Everton, but I accept that. But The Europa League's different. The Europa League's slower. The Europa League is easier for players of his type to get involved and to look good in because instead of getting 1 or 2 touches in the Premier League, you get 3 or 4 on a Thursday night. And I want to see that from him. I want to see him puff his chest out and grab the game by the scruff of the neck because Saeed Ben Rama will. If Ben Rama starts on Thursday, he will keep going. If he does a couple of dodgy crosses or whatever, he'll try a third and a fourth and he'll keep going. That's what we need to see from Vlasic. We need to see some responsibility, I guess, because at the end of the day, he still costs 27 million. This isn't a £5 million punt from Belgium second division. We're not sure on. Hopefully, this is, a player that plays for his national team that was a big part for a big club in Russia. I want to see some potential from him between now and the end of the season. But like I say, we can't judge him, but I want to see something. We can't just write off this season and say, don't worry about it, mate. As long as you start performing next season, I want to see a bit more. These games are crucial because eventually this is match day 3 of the group. We've got 4, 5, and 6 to go. After that, it gets serious. After that, it's a knockout stages, and there's no, we'll rotate the team. But none of that. It's our first 11 in the knockout stages then. Benrahma, Fornals, and Bowen are lining up in the Europa League. Vlasic's spot's gone. So he's essentially got 4 additions in the Europa League group stage to show David Moyes and West Ham fans what he's got and that he can play in the Premier League, that he can play in the knockout stages of the European competition. I think it's a massive opportunity for him on Thursday night. And he's someone that, sometimes when you go to a game, you'll watch one player in particular for whatever reason, thinking, come on, you. Vlasic is my player for Thursday. I'm going to be watching him a bit more than anyone else, thinking, come on, what have you got? Come on, show me something. You confident?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, massively. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be. We're in good form, mate. We're in really good form. I know, obviously, we lost against Brentford, but you know what I mean. But we've been in good form for a long time. We're a tough nut to crack. We're really hard to play against. We really are. They're not going to. I mean, the having a big striker there is going to be interesting, but it's not like he's 10 foot tall and all our players are 5 foot tall. I mean, we've got a couple of 6'4", 6'5" players. You know what I mean? One of them's slightly better at jumping than him. It's an even contest. So, and I'm quite sure that someone like Dawson would probably relish the challenge. You know what Dawson's like, and he likes it. He's quite confrontational, but he likes the challenge there. I don't think the fact that he might be whatever 3 inches shorter than this guy is going to particularly bother him going up for a header. So that will be interesting. That being said, it's an audition for him. You talk about an audition for Vlasic, an audition for this guy. This guy terrorises our defence and scores a couple of headers or something like that. We know that David Moyes is a bit of a sucker for players that play well against him. He's got a history of doing it, actually, and of going and buying them. So I think that could make things interesting, but not enough. One player is not enough to deal with how efficient we are at what we do, basically. So, yeah, very confident.
Yeah, I'm very confident too. And I'm basing it more on the first 2 games we've played in European football so far, because it's difficult sometimes for teams, I think, to transition from Premier League to Europa League and back again, because the pace is completely different. The gameplay is completely different. But I think we might have struggled a little bit going from Europa League to Premier League, the Thursday to the Sunday. I think we struggled a little bit with that. But on a Thursday night, from minute 1, we've been on it both games. From the first minute to the last minute, we've just been what you call a professional performance. And like I said, it comes across a very backhanded compliment, but it's not meant to be. It's because you just do everything right. The keeper's not very busy. You just confront the other team's defence and goalkeeper enough. You don't necessarily dominate them, but you do enough to get the win. And I expect a comfortable win for West Ham, actually. And 9 points out of 9 means we can probably take the foot off the pedal a little bit for the last 3 games of the group, and 1 win out of the 3 would probably be enough to secure top spot. I mean, it depends on how the result goes with Zagreb and Vienna. A draw in that game would set us up perfectly to clinch top spot with plenty of time in the bank. So, with all that in mind, please, Gonzo, can I have your score prediction ahead of Thursday evening, please?
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I wanted to say 3-0, but I've had 2-0 in my mind so much. I might just go with the hunch of 2-0, but a very comfortable 2-0 with David Moyes taking all these players off and bringing you and me on or something like that. A nice, easy stroll, So, yeah, 2-0.
I completely agree with that. I'm going to go for a comfortable professional performance by West Ham, ending in 2-0 to West Ham United on Thursday evening. But that's been our preview of the Genk game. If you've enjoyed it, drop a like on it, subscribe if you're new to the channel, make sure you download the OneFootball app. And with an 8 o'clock kickoff on Thursday, we will be live at 6:55 p.m. 5 to 7 on Thursday. We'll be live over on this channel. So we'll catch you then.